Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Zen Lounge. We have a special podcast today. It is July 4th, 2023. Happy Independence Day, everyone. Today, we have the CTO of White Whale Protocol. I actually received the airdrop back when a few months, how long ago was the airdrop?
Yeah, I think 4 months ago.
4 months ago. So I received the airdrop and I've been watching your community grow on Twitter. I've been watching the ecosystem expand. And I personally want to learn more about this protocol and your layer one chain. So we've been talking for a while now. We finally got to get together and schedule this podcast and really looking forward to this conversation. So David, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much, Zen. It's been a long time we've been trying to schedule this call, so I'm very glad we finally have the chance to do this. And happy Independence Day to all the Americans and freedom lovers out there.
Yep. So let's start off with a little bit of your history, and then we could get into the history of White Whale.
Sure. So I'm David. I'm doxed. I'm a computer scientist by academic. I started in AI, but for some reason I got stuck with crypto first as just flipping coins and JPEGs. But I soon saw the vision and fell in love with this whole movement of decentralization and efficiency and transparency. So what started as a hobby really, or just curiosity, grew into a hobby, and now here I am. So, and White Whale. So White Whale, it got quite a long history. It started back in the Terra Classic days. It's more than 2 years ago. Yeah, more than 2 years ago. And Sebastian, at that time, the founder, he is still the founder, he decided to build a protocol that evolves around protecting the UST peg. Now, that didn't quite work out as expected. We had some, I think, 40 million TVL at the peak, but that wasn't enough to safeguard, what was it, $30 billion. Just didn't work out, even though it was done with good intention. So when the collapse happened, we stayed there until the last minute, until the last block was minted. And then everybody was kind of dumbstruck by what just happened, because many people had their life savings in there. And so while a lot of teams back on Terra Classic decided to disappear with whatever treasury they have left, or just run, or they just decided to stop crypto at all, we decided to instead look inwards, or outwards better. What's going on in the broader blockchain or Cosmos ecosystem, and what problems can we solve? And that's how we came to this point where we are right now, where we have more than a dozen validators securing more than 8 figures in assets. We have our own blockchain called Migaloo. It's a decentralized layer one network with all the latest tech and bells and whistles. We have the White Whale Interchain protocol that is live on 6 chains right now, and soon many more. And we also maintain and have a very active community around our open source MEV solutions, for example, arbitrage bot or liquidation bots.
Great. Well, that's awesome that you guys kept going and rose like the phoenix, and now you're seeing the benefits of persevering. So let's get into this. I think one of the biggest things that struck me was the fact that you guys are solving fragmented liquidity. Can you go deeper into your explanation on how you're solving fragmented liquidity in the Cosmos?
So one of the problems you have with the Cosmos ecosystem is that while you have a lot of chains, and this allows you to scale very well horizontally, it allows you to customize all the chains individually. You have the problem that as this ecosystem, the Cosmos ecosystem itself, grows in more chains, a lot of these chains will have some form of liquidity on there. There might be a DEX, might be perpetuals, might be some order book, might be lending markets, might be games. Whatever it is, a lot of things in crypto revolve around liquidity. And as you get more chains, liquidity starts to spread thin. Now, that's a problem, because let's say you want to access a token, but it's not on your chain, it's on whatever chain. Let's say you want to do a swap, but there's just very little liquidity on that chain. So you need to move around, and there's a lot of complexities with IBC and, you know, cross-chain interoperability. And that's an issue that already hinders the growth of the Cosmos ecosystem, but the problem will become more severe as the ecosystem grows. So we saw that a year ago and decided, okay, you know, among other things, or among other problems, we saw this and decided, hey, we want to build something that solves this, or at least, you know, helps to solve it. And one of the things we're doing is we have these satellite markets, these applications that are on multiple chains. And right now we are still in phase one. So phase one is we ship standalone applications that consist of a DEX and flashloan vault to multiple chains. Right now, 6: Injective, Terra, Juno, Comdex, Chihuahua, and our own chain. And phase two will be to connect the liquidity. You can think of this like an aqueduct system between cities. So the water or liquidity can just flow freely to wherever it's needed. And this creates a much more dynamic and efficient system. And it would allow us to do very nice and user-friendly features like deposit liquidity in one place, and boom, your liquidity isn't just on one chain. Suddenly it's on 10 chains. And then it moves the protocol decides to move the liquidity and allocate it where it makes most sense. But phase two is still in research and development phase. Right now, we're still in phase one.
So like the founders, like their original vision is to have thousands of chains part of this internet of blockchains. And basically what you're saying is there going to be like dexes and all these, and this is going to help connect all the different DEX. So what are your thoughts on, you know, do you think that this is more going to be the future than like a interchain liquidity hub, like what Osmosis is trying to solve?
I think Osmosis and Whitewell are trying to solve different things. You can think of it like the vision of Osmosis is to concentrate and centralize the liquidity, because then you don't have these issues. If there's just a single DEX and everybody goes to Osmosis to trade, then you don't have the problem of fractured liquidity, because everything is on Osmosis. But in my opinion, there's little point in building all these blockchains that are so decentralized if all the liquidity is centralized on just a single chain controlled just by, I don't know what the Nakamoto index is right now, but maybe 10, 12 validators. That, in my opinion, defeats the point. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to go with the vision, go with the flow of decentralization, and decentralization always brings problems. That's why it's so hard, and there's these tendencies towards centralization, because it's just more efficient. But still, we believe in the benefits of decentralization. So instead of, you know, counteracting that and trying to centralize the liquidity, we're trying to decentralize it and make it more efficient and solve the problems that arise when you decentralize the liquidity.
So is this the biggest problem that White Whale is solving? I know you guys are working on multiple different solutions. So are there like what other problems are you guys looking to solve with White Whale?
I think another very critical problem we're trying to solve with the White Whale protocol. So this is just the protocol. You have to understand there is the blockchain, which is completely decentralized. We don't control it. And, you know, it's starting to grow into its own ecosystem. And there's the White Whale protocol, which is developed mainly by White Whale. Mm-hmm. And with the protocol, we're trying to solve the fractured liquidity issue, but we're also trying to solve something that's also just starting to appear, which is if you're building an app, you run into a lot of issues if you deploy your app on just a single chain. Let's say you have deployed it on Terra Classic. Boom, your protocol is gone. Let's say you deployed your app on any of those horribly performing layer 1 blockchains we have. the success of your app is tied to the ecosystem or the blockchain you're on right now. So if you have an awesome app, but the blockchain, the ecosystem just sucks, your app sucks as well.
Right.
So what we see is a lot of teams starting to, see what we did almost a year ago, which is building cross-chain applications. And they say, hey, we want this too. We don't want to be just on a single chain. We want to develop more markets, tap into more liquidity, more communities. We want to be more resilient. If, right now we're on 6 chains. If one of them dies, God bless, not our own, then whatever, we got 5 more and we can deploy on even more. So a lot of teams starting to realize this and see the benefits of going cross-chain. And leading to your question, what problem do we solve? So building cross-chain is very hard. You need to do a lot of things, like building a Web3 app in itself is already very difficult because the technology is quite new. But building it cross-chain is even harder. And one of the main, let me explain by example what one of the main problems here is. So we work together with a small team called Raccoon, and they have some games. And to provide a better user experience, they want to allow the users to play in any token. So the user can just, select whatever token he just has sitting in his wallet, he hits play, and the contract and the app handles everything itself because it is integrated into our DEX. So the user just plays with whatever shitcoin, he has laying around, and the app routes it through our DEX, converts it into whatever currency the contracts need, and then routes it back to whatever the user likes to receive. So far, so good. They've done this. Now, think back, they want to go cross-chain. So they go to a different blockchain. And on this different blockchain, there's a different DEX. So they need to integrate, to provide the same user experience with this play with anything feature. They need to integrate another DEX. That's a lot of engineering work. And then they go to the third chain and have to interface with the same or with a different DEX yet again. And do you see the picture I'm trying to paint here? So as you go cross-chain and you have dependencies, you cannot really scale if you have to integrate on every new DEX, on every new chain, and manage the pools and make sure there's liquidity and incentives and keep contact with the team. It doesn't work. So what we are doing to come to the point here is we're providing a base layer of infrastructure of DeFi building blocks to these different chains. So our satellite markets, the protocol, we're trying to solve fractured liquidity, but at the same time, we have DEXs and flashloans on all these chains. And what the Raccoon team did is they integrated our DEX one time because it's the same code on all the chains. They did it once, and now they're live on 3 chains because now they can just spin up their app. Our DEX is already there, so they know how it works. It's just, clicking a couple of buttons and boom, it works. So to summarize it in a single sentence, the second problem we're solving with the white whale protocol is providing basic DeFi infrastructure as a service. And right now, the white whale protocol consists of a DEX and flash loan, but we have a program, it's called the RIDE program, and this is specifically targeted at teams that live on a single chain that want to go cross-chain. And we help them integrate into our infrastructure and help them scale. So right now, there are 3 additional teams in there, 2 liquid staking provider. So one team that does liquid staking and DeFi, like automation tools, Eris protocol, one team called Backbone Labs, who also do liquid staking, but also combined with NFTs. And then there's Raccoon, who do games. And all these teams, we call them, we call us like a loose joint venture, the RIDE group. We, as White Whale, we got the core, the base layer. We deploy our app somewhere. And then these teams, they take a look, hey, do we want to expand there as well on this chain? And then they say, yeah. And then it's just like a couple of days and they're done. New app launched on a new chain. So long story, those are the two problems we're trying to solve with the white whale.
So based on hearing this, do you believe if you solve your vision that the future users who aren't as technical won't even realize they're operating on multiple chains and using multiple different coins from multiple different chains? It's all just going to be seamless at the end of
That's
the
the
day?
whole point. And that's the whole point. And it will take many, many years to fully achieve this. I mean, remember, you're old enough to remember how it was to dial the modem to connect to the internet. It
Yep.
took so many years. Right now, we're at the point where the internet is just, in most parts of the world, just wow, and it works, and mobile phones just work. But it took decades for research and billions of dollars until we got to the point where it just works. And I think blockchain will go much faster with the help of AI and general acceleration. But still, we're a long way ahead or long way out to achieve this. But at the end of the day, the users won't know which blockchain they're on or what tokens they might require. Similar to how you don't know what servers this interview is going over, and neither do I, because I don't care. And Raccoon, for example, they did the first step. Now you can play with any token you like. Sure, you have to select the token, but still, it's much more seamless than swapping and this and that. You just boom, 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 you play.
So I've been researching the CosmWasm, smart contracts, IBC. What are your thoughts there? You're building this protocol. That's one of the reasons why I got excited about this protocol, and I am basically an early investor in most of the premier CosmWasm chains. So is this all possible because of IBC, because of CosmWasm? And what are your thoughts on building CosmWasm for a guy like me that's investing in this technology?
Mhm. So you have to understand, compared to Solidity, which is the #1 smart contract blockchain, there's a lot less documentation and tooling available. So the community is just much, much smaller in the CosmWasm space than in the Solidity space. But writing CosmWasm smart contracts is still significantly easier and safer than Solidity smart contracts. So I don't think you will find many Rust engineers that do smart contracts in the Cosmos ecosystem that want to go back to Solidity. So I'm a big fan of this. And eventually, I believe that blockchains will support multiple virtual machines, similar to how you don't have, or you have multiple apps on your laptop. You don't have one laptop per app. That's just ridiculous. So eventually blockchains will allow to have multiple smart contracts on them in different languages, all compiled to the same binary. But right now, I believe we're in a good spot with CosmWasm. Now to IBC. IBC has its limitations. Again, the Cosmos ecosystem is significantly smaller than Ethereum, but still Cosmos succeeded in making IBC the global leading interoperability protocol, which is fantastic. And it shows it's just the best thing that is out there. But it doesn't get, or in my opinion, there's no guarantee that this interoperability protocol will win. So I believe that eventually you'll be able to code smart contracts in different languages, even on Ethereum. But so that's not a winner takes it all game. But I think interoperability is a winner takes it all game, similar to how the internet protocols, HTTPS. Nobody in his sane mind would come up with, hey, let's build a new internet. The train has left a long time ago. It's HTTPS and TCP/IP, they won. Now it's not monetized, and the interoperability protocols in the future might be monetized. And even though IBC is leading, in my opinion, it's still undecided if it's going to win like forever, like HTTPS won the internet wars.
So another question, another thing that you guys are getting into is you guys are getting into, we've seen the Cosmos Hub launch the Interchain security services, and there's debates on if that's the most decentralized option. You guys are implementing something called alliance staking. I've talked about mesh security before, so can you touch on the alliance security model and how that differs from something like interchain security?
Yeah, I'd like to highlight that White Whale and Migaloo, we have been the first chain, to the best of my knowledge, ever, especially in the Cosmos ecosystem, to achieve cross-chain staking. So for more than 4 months, or 3 months, people have been staking Luna on Migaloo. So that's something that people tend to overlook when they talk about this and that, most of which isn't live. Our solution has been live for many months. It's been working seamlessly without any issues, and it's just a fantastic achievement, I think. And I'm very happy to be working with all these talented engineers who enabled cross-chain staking first. That's pretty cool. So 3 solutions, or three technologies we can talk about here is Alliance, Mesh Security, and Interchain Security. And there's a lot of debate around which is better, who's gonna win, similar to how there's so much debate about, AMMs or order book. The discussion is quite stupid because both AMMs and order books have their place. They're not mutually exclusive. And similarly, Mesh Security, Interchain Security, and Alliance, they're so different that they fulfill different purposes. So let me explain by example. Interchain Security by the hub is basically rent your validators. So you don't have your own validators, you don't have any of the troubles that come with it. You just, hey, here's some money, you get money all the time, please validate my chain and do whatever. That's Interchain Security. Great if you don't have a token, great if you need the highest security possible, great if you just don't want to deal with validators. Lots of good reasons to use Interchain Security. Now, Mesh Security is different in the sense that the chains still have their own validator sets. So you have two chains, 2 tokens, and the one chain stakes their tokens on both chains and vice versa. So you have chains that secure each other. And then you have Alliance, which is basically nothing more than a monetary policy tool for chains. So you have your inflation, and right now, 100% of the inflation goes to the stakers. Or in case of Interchain Security, they get some. But most of the monetary policies of blockchains in the Cosmos is that simple. You got inflation, maybe there's some transaction fees on top, and stakers get it. And most of them didn't even get this right and just hyperinflated their chain away. But still, Alliance allows you to really granularly decide where to move your inflation. So we, for example, decided to allocate a piece of our inflation to Luna stakers. So then there's money coming in, a stream of tokens, and users stake their tokens. You can also use this to bootstrap liquidity. So we have our DEX on Migaloo, and we will direct inflation of our chain to those LP tokens. So it's like perpetual incentives for LP token. And that way, a chain can decide, hey, we as the community, as the validators, as every token holder, we want to ensure we have very deep liquidity in this very specific pool, whale USDC, for example. So we allocate our inflation as incentive in this pool. Or there's a new project coming up on our chain, and they want to launch a token, and we want to support them. They're building the ecosystem, it's still very early, so how can we do this? Sure, we could give them some money. We could also whitelist their token in our alliance. So similar to how governments, they decide to subsidize something, the Fed prints money, gives it to the government, which is like the blockchain prints money. And then the government decides where to put it. For example, they want, more sustainable cars. So they subsidize it by giving money or tax reductions to car manufacturers and car buyers. And with Alliance, we can do the same. If we say, hey, these guys, they are building, something really cool. We need this on our chain, like the hottest NFT marketplace with a token. We want to support that as a blockchain because this is critical infrastructure for us. Now we can do it in a decentralized way or by directing inflation to that project and thereby subsidizing it. And that's the difference or the differentiation between these three technologies. So you see, they're really very, very different, actually. It's like apples and pineapples. Can't compare them.
So they all have a place in the future.
I believe so, yeah. I believe there's cases where two chains or multiple chains want to secure each other. I think there are places for chains that just don't want to have validators and want to be secured. And I think every chain in the cosmos, like every chain, would benefit from a little bit more sensible monetary policy.
Let's talk about you've been touching on inflation, and you have been a contrarian that I've noticed based on your Twitter post on this subject. And I think that a lot of Cosmos chains in the bear market, the inflation models got exposed, and there's a few projects that are basically leading the charge of a new narrative, which is real yield, versus inflation. And I give props to I'm not going to name the other projects doing it, but you guys are one of the people that are pushing this narrative of generating real yield. And can you touch on your thoughts on some of the chains and Cosmos that just like they'll launch and have insane amounts of inflation coming in, and the consequences that we've seen, like the token gets diluted, it hurts the investor, and what you guys are pioneering with the real yield. Can we talk about that?
Of course. One of my favorite topics. So let me tell you something. So if I were to build a blockchain and my goal was to extract the maximum amount of money from its investors into my own pocket, how would I do it? I would, of course, market the hell out of it. Then I would give myself and my friends a very nice allocation. But the allocation is stakeable. But I tell everybody publicly, and my friends do the same, my tokens are locked for a decade and longer. I will never, ever touch them because they're locked. I'm in for the long game. But secretly, I stake them. So, got the chain. All my tokens are staked. I tell everybody, oh, never gonna touch this. I'm locked for so long. And then I'm hyperinflate the shit out of it. And since me and my friends got most of the tokens and they're already staked, we're earning a multiple of the tokens we have locked. So I might be able to lock 1 million. Let's say we have 1 billion supply and 20% for team. That's not uncommon, right? So, and we stake that, and then we hyperinflate it. And then we earn a multiple of the tokens we actually locked in staking rewards, because in the first days and weeks, inflation is so ridiculously high, like thousands of APR, that my wallet is overflowing. And then I'm gonna dump it. So I'll leave it to the listeners and watchers to decide which chains have been doing this and which are not, but this is definitely something to look out for. And I don't like it. So I've refrained from naming projects so far, but I think there will be a time where I'm just gonna start calling them out for their malpractices. But for now, I think everybody knows at least some projects I've been talking about here. So with Migaloo, we're trying to do it, we did it differently. So let's dive a little bit into our tokenomics here. So hyperinflation is bad. You don't want hyperinflation. What you want, however, as an ecosystem token, especially for layer 1 tokens, you want inflation. Why? Because inflation stimulates growth, similar to how the Federal Reserve aims for a 2% inflation, because that stimulates the economy. And if the economy needs stimulus, they print a little bit more, so that's monetary policy, but still they aim for 2%. And we do something similar. We have 4% base inflation. So nothing else, 4% every year. And this creates the economic stimulus. For example, we have 2 liquid staking providers. Now, if we had zero inflation, liquid staking would make close to no sense. If you have 1,000% in APR or inflation, everybody would be diluted again. So you need to strike a balance there. And we decided to go with 4%. And so far it's been working out great. People are not diluted. Everybody knows, okay, 4%, that's the number, not more, not less. And you can start working with it, because you got this model. And the liquid stake, it spurs the economy. The liquid staking providers are happy because they're making money, that the token is in use because people go towards liquid staking because there's 4% auto compounding. So we decided to go for that. Then let me think where to go next. Yeah, that's a good point.
The real yield?
Almost, yeah, almost.
Okay.
I'm going to come to the real yield next. I think one of the most fantastic things you can do with blockchains, and I've yet to see good research on this from economists, is that you can create super assets. In the real world, fiat currencies, they're either inflationary or deflationary. And both actually have their benefits and drawbacks. If you inflate too much, or if you inflate, inactivity is discouraged. But if you deflate too much, everybody will just hodl and the economy dies. But with crypto, you can actually combine or create an asset that is both inflationary and deflationary at the same time. So this is something we're trying to achieve. So we have our 4% base inflation, stimulating the economy, activating more protocols, creating movement, transaction fees, all the good stuff. But it's diluting people, obviously. It's not much, everybody knows it, 4%, but still. What we're trying to do is create deflationary tokenomics at the same time. So you stake your tokens and your stack just grows because 4% inflation. But at the same time, the total supply, so while you're earning more, the total supply shrinks. And that really is a super asset because you want to stake it and you want to move it. You want to use it in protocols to get more. But at the same time, you never want to let go of it because tomorrow at the same time, there will be less tokens in circulation. And you can achieve this by, inflation is pretty easy. Deflation, you have to get this from economic activity. So what we're doing is on Migaloo, all the fees, the transaction fees from the chain, we want to burn them. Now it's still not out. It will probably be live in Migaloo v4. Right now we're at 2 and 3 in the pipeline. But this will be the first step in creating an inflationary token that's at the same time deflationary, or at least the inflation is offset a little bit. But this is one part of the tokenomic system. And then we have also the white whale protocol. And both the chain and the protocol, they share the same token, the whale token, because both powered by whale. And our satellite markets, they generate revenue. On every swap, on every flash loan, there's fee. Most goes back into the LP providers, but some is set aside as a protocol fee. And this protocol fee is once a day at exactly 15 UTC on all chains, aggregated and used to buy back from the whale from the open market. And here's where it's becomes really interesting. But once people understand this, they're usually quite fascinated about this. So you have your token, your whale token. You liquid stake it. You get some inflation. The chain with the transaction fees already burns some and offsets the inflation a little bit. Now you take that liquid staking token, liquid stake whale, and we have 2 providers, Ant Whale and Bone Whale. You take that to any of our satellite markets. Right now we have 6. And there you bond it. It's something like locking. You lock it to the satellite market. And that way you earn the revenue the satellite market generates. So you have this real yield, that's generated by all the satellite markets. And eventually, right now we distribute all the revenue we buy back from the satellite markets. Eventually, we will also burn some. And with this whole picture, we have actually quite a really interesting setup, because on the one hand, we have Migaloo, the home chain. If the ecosystem itself lifts off, lots of apps launching on Migaloo, cool stuff, nothing cross-chain, just lots of activity on Migaloo, then the token will be deflationary. There's a lot of fees and they will be burned. And there was obviously a lot of demand for the whale token. But now with the satellite markets, we can scale this horizontally. So as the ecosystem grows, as the ecosystem shifts, maybe more towards Polkadot, more towards Avalanche, more to whatever, we can deploy there as well and capture this. And on all these chains, on every day, 15 UTC, we take all the fees, buy back spot whale open from the market, distribute it, and eventually burn some. And then you have both a value capture that's on Migaloo and scales with Migaloo, and you have a value capture that's across the whole ecosystem and scales individually with each ecosystem. And you have also a burn mechanism that scales horizontally and vertically on our own chain and on all these other chains. And that, I believe, creates a very, very flexible system that allows us to navigate this really fast-moving space by deploying where the most action is. For example, we're going to deploy on composable finance, which is a Polkadot chain. So we're actually going to be one of the first truly cross-ecosystem chain or protocols, because we'll be in the Cosmos, but also on Polkadot. And the same happens there. The market generates revenue. And yeah, the market generates revenue. And that's used to buy back whale. And you can liquid stake your whale to tap into that. And to top it off, eventually this interchain liquidity network, phase 2 we talked about earlier, will make it even more encompassing so that the liquidity can actually move between there. And problem 2 we're solving, we help other teams scale cross-chain by helping them integrate with us and then just move alongside with us. We have them with politics, with validators, architecture, design, all that stuff. And so we have 3 teams that integrate our decks whenever we go. So if you're using a Luna derivative, liquid staking derivative, like Bone Luna or Amp Luna, you're actually making money for whale. And this is also going to scale horizontally. It already does. It's live.
So right now, the real yield, I've watched it keep going up, is about 12%. But what you're saying is we're going to go to multiple ecosystems. We're going to expand this. So it could go higher than 12%, you think?
It's at 17 right now, actually.
It's at 17% now?
But the thing is, so this is ecosystem specific. We have our app on different chains. And every chain or satellite market on every chain is an individual application. And now people can decide, where do I want to put my liquid staked whale, on which market? And as we scale horizontally, the tokens start to spread thin. So it creates demand and real yield goes up, because the satellite markets, they make whatever they make. Let's say, we buy back 1,000 whale per chain per day. And we have this on 10 chains. Then we have 10,000 buybacks a day. If we have 20 chains, it's 20,000. But the tokens, there's not magically coming more whale tokens into circulation. So they have to spread thinner. So APR goes up as we scale horizontally.
Right now, there is just over 600 million whale in circulation.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be 4% a year being added to that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's possibility with the satellite markets burning some of the supply too. That's
not yet, but eventually. Yeah. We're one step at a time. We'll probably have the Migaloo burn first, but eventually. So the value capture is already working. So this system with the buybacks, it's already working. You can go to Terra. That's where we have the 17% APR. On Chihuahua, we just started, and the fees have been accumulating for almost a year now, which is why there's like 600% APR right now, which is just crazy because there was this huge buyback and distribution in the first phase, but now it's starting to, go down a little bit. So that's already, everything's live. First buyback on Juno will happen July 13. So that's another engine that starts. And you can really think of it like we have all these apps and they're like engines. And they start one by one. We're going to start them now. And they're all going to buy back whale and buy back and buy back and buy back. And the nice thing is, where we are going, people don't even have to use our app because other applications use our app, like backbone apps, like Eris protocol. So if you play a game on Raccoon, it creates swaps. Because I said, with the Raccoon game, you have this play with anything feature, and it uses our DEX. And using our DEX creates fees. And those fees are used to buy back whale.
Wow.
And that's why we're helping these teams, because it's a win-win situation. They can scale their app to more chains. They can, tap into more markets, more liquidity. They're more resilient, if their beloved ecosystem sucks, and we profit as well. So it's a lot to chew on. So let's take a moment. You can ask questions, because this is really fundamental in understanding in what we're doing here. So the tokenomics are quite complex. I think they're one of the most sophisticated tokenomics we have here, because it's like a fusion of the blockchain, a protocol, and then very specific problems we're solving at the same time. And then also with the inflation, with the burn, with the monetary policy and alliance, it's a lot to chew on. So feel free to ask any questions here. I just,
Yeah, this is exactly what I think the big investor are going to look for, is like it's a protocol that's generating revenue versus just inflation. And when I was listening to you talk about this, I did have to re-listen to it a few times to fully grasp what was being created here, but it got me really excited. So I do believe I'm doing it wrong. So when I got my airdrop, I just traditionally staked it to the validators. So I want to go through a walkthrough with the app so kind of show us how we get the most value with our whale tokens, because I think I'm just getting the 4%. But I do have two more questions. So I want to go into your mission statement. You mentioned flash loans a little bit. Maybe we could talk about that when we do the walkthrough. But your whole branding, everything about your company is everything about the protocol is designed around a whale. And it says your mission statement is how to empower retail to be a whale. And I think we've learned a lot about that through this conversation. But can you touch on your mission statement real quick on how you're empowering people? Like, why is that important to you guys?
So we believe that fundamentally, so everybody on the team is quite ideologically driven. So they're not like crypto anarchists or something, but we believe in the benefits of that crypto offers. Everybody has their own little vision, but I think we all share the common vision that it helps to equalize the playing field, because now we can use the same applications as the big boys. We can use, we have the same toolings available. And I think so. We do a lot of community work. I think it's very important. I'd say it's even more important than the app itself. I think community is everything. So we're really trying to create win-win situations on every level where we are. We have, spent so much time with the validators and designing the chain parameters and selecting validators so that everybody is happy. We spend a lot of time in creating the tokenomics so that everybody in the ecosystem is happy. We got this inflation, deflation, and we create a lot of time, or we take a lot of time in educating the people and providing tools for them. For example, our open source MEV tools. So everybody can go into our Discord. There's a great community, and they're not hired by us. They're just fascinated by this. They like this. They build their own bots together with us. And we got a really vibrant community of people all around the world that build arbitrage bots. So you can use them. You don't need any capital. You don't even need to know how to code. You can start doing this. And I think that's fun. So community is really at the heart of everything we're doing. Hence, our slogan never really changed. And that's the reason.
Yeah, I do recommend you guys following them on Twitter. They have Twitter Spaces all the time, and you guys answer any questions and you keep the community updated. And while we're pulling up the app to do a quick walkthrough, do you have any alpha you could drop about the upcoming roadmap that you guys have planned? Like, what can people that are already invested look forward to in the future?
I already did.
Oh yeah, he already did.
We're live on 5 chains, but we just deployed on our own chain yesterday. So that's why I said 6 chains, but community thinks it's 5. So we're releasing this, soon, tomorrow, maybe the day after.
You mentioned the Polkadot ecosystem, composable.
Yeah, they know this. They know
Oh,
this. We shared our expansion strategy. So which chains are next in line for expansion. So there's no surprise there. We discussed this with the community and try to find the best way. No, I'm not allowed to give the alpha. I'm sorry. I can only say there are teams building in the shadow on Migaloo, and they are not announcing anything, and they're just gonna drop the whole thing live once it's live.
So for the new people, Migaloo is your layer 1. So there's gonna be other protocols, other teams building on your layer 1.
Yeah, like very great teams, but I'm not allowed to say who or what, and they won't share any news until it's there.
Sweet. Well, yeah, if you're ready, if we could do a quick few minute walkthrough of the application. I think we had a great conversation already. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much. But yeah, the app walkthrough. So we have to go and bond it to liquid staking. That's the best way to get the most value.
You are right. So let me share my screen here.
What's your unbond time? Is it a couple of weeks, 7 days?
21 days.
21 days.
21 days.
I'll probably just buy some more and do this. I'll just leave mine staked.
Okay, so let's start. So again, the ecosystem is still in its early growing phases. So we got an NFT marketplace that's going to launch this month. We got Redacted that's going to launch this month. Raccoon is going to launch this month with their app also on our chain. So there's a lot of things coming this month. But right now, what you can do is you can use any of our liquid staking providers, both Eris Protocol and Backbone Labs. Fantastic teams. I have nothing but good stuff to share about them. So whatever you choose, whatever provider you choose, and they have some different flavors. Whatever you choose, you can just go to erisprotocol.com/Migaloo/amplifier and just stake your tokens here, like this, and then you get AMP Whale back. You see, you'd get some AMP Whale, and that's a liquid staking derivative of Whale. Or you could do the same here, stake some tokens here, you get some Bone Whale or B Whale. Whatever you do, both are fantastic teams, and I encourage everybody to research them, what they're doing. Fantastic guys. So you did this. Next, you want to move them to the satellite markets, because remember, this is happening on Migaloo, but most of the real yield right now is cross-chain, because we got our cross-chain apps. So you go to TFM, and it's a really nice bridge. You can use whatever bridge you like to bridge the tokens, but it's a really nice bridge. You can just select Migaloo here, and let's say you want to go to Terra. So you go to Terra, select token, and boom, you can send it over. That's it. So fast forward, your tokens are now on Terra. You land here, dashboard. It's a nice little dashboard. And here you see your, what we called earlier, this bonding, where you can lock your liquid staked whale that's still accumulating. Remember, it's a liquid stake token, so it's accumulating the liquid staking rewards, but on top, you get the real yield, the fresh naked whale that has just been bought from the open market. You can get that here if you bond. So you can go here, select the token. So you can do it with amp whale or bone whale. So there's just 2 tokens, and you can just bond it. You can also unbond it if you have a position, but you want to get rid of it. But it takes 2 weeks to get your tokens back. And then every day and every 24 hours, 15 UTC, there's a buyback, and you can hit this button. Now, I want to highlight something because we've really taken great strides in trying to create a unique and hyper-efficient system here with the buybacks. So let me dive into this real quick. So a lot of problems you see in Cosmos is that dead capital is gobbling up a lot of rewards. So let's say you lock your tokens on Osmosis 14 days, you lose your keys, bear market comes, whatever. A lot of the liquidity is dead. It's never moving again. So why should those dead wallets receive tokens? I mean, you might as well just burn them. It's just, they're gone. There's no point in it. So what we did here is we created an epoch-based system. So every day, new epoch. But there is a fee forward pass. So every 21 days, or let me phrase it differently. There's a grace period of 21 days. And if you don't claim, and you can only claim your tokens 21 days back in the past. So let's say you haven't claimed, so there's an epoch and there's 10,000 whale in there, and 9,000 whale have been claimed, but 1,000 whale hasn't been claimed because people are dead, they hate this, whatever. So this 1,000 whale is then moved into the current epoch. So it's like you can picture this like a lot of epochs here, and there's a window, a sliding window, 21 epochs, 21 days. And whenever we do a step, new epoch, we take all the fees that are not claimed and put it in the pot for the current epoch. And this creates a system where there is no more dead capital. Because even if there is people who bond and forget, the rewards are just distributed to those who are active. And there's something really interesting happening right now, which is the following. A lot of, there's excitement. We launch on a new chain, we activate this. On some chains there has been, fees accumulated for a long time, so lots of rewards. So they go ahead, bond their tokens. Let's fucking go. And then, things slow down a little bit. We settle for 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever percent real yield, nothing crazy. So people lose interest. People lose interest. So lots of excitement, APR goes down because a lot of people come in. Now, these people don't claim anymore. So the claiming rate goes down. That means a lot of tokens are unclaimed, and they are moved forward every time. And then, without having more volume or more fees, the APR goes up. And the APR goes up, there's more interest coming. People start to come back, new liquidity, new tokens come in, so the APR goes down again. And with every cycle, APR goes up, more whale is locked here, and then forgotten again, and then more whale comes in. And all the time, this system doesn't waste a single whale, a single cent of liquidity or fees that has been bought back. At every step, it distributes it to those who are active. And if you're not active, you're not getting anything past 21 days. And this creates this, cycler development of, APR going up. People start putting in liquidity, APR goes down, they lose interest, they don't claim, APR goes up again, just by design of the system.
Wow.
And to make it even more interesting, we have a time-weighted multiplier. So the longer you're in, the more influence you have. So right now, people, if they started bonding on Terra, I think it was 2 months ago, they now have a multiplier of 27%.
Wow.
So there is incentive. So what we're doing here is on the one hand, we incentivize long-term locking of tokens. Because the longer you lock, the more you get. And at the same time, while we encourage people to go in for the long time, we make sure that every whale that dies, that's metaphorically speaking, but every whale that's inactive, every whale that dies, doesn't get anything anymore, or just 21 days back, and just the active ones get everything. And this is so on Terra, it's been live for 60 days, I believe, and it's starting to get really, really interesting because more liquidity is coming in as the APRs are higher. And then if you look at the historical data, we have a claiming rate, it started at around 90%, and now we're at 80%. So the claim rate goes down, but APR goes up. And I'm really curious to see how this plays out in the long term, once we start seeing this circular development. But anyways, long talk about the first page of the app. This is a fantastic system, I believe, we designed here. And I watch every day, at 15 UTC, see how much whale has been bought back on the different satellite markets individually, and how that affects APR and how many tokens are in. So that's a really, really cool thing. So anyways, you can have fun with all this without knowing anything. This is the magic number here. The longer you're in, the more you get, but you have to claim at least every 21 days, otherwise someone else will. Because your fees are passed forward, and then those who are active, they get your share, and they'll be very happy.
Makes sense.
Then, we bridged our tokens, we bonded our whale. Let's say you don't want to go through the hassle of Migaloo. I've been saying this in a couple of spaces now. You can get the full white whale protocol experience without ever touching Migaloo. So I'm not you can't get the Migaloo experience without Migaloo, but you can get the white whale experience without Migaloo, because we're in a cross-chain app. So if you say, hey, I want to bond I want to get the real yield here, 14% real yield, that's fantastic. I want this. I want to bond. Where do I get AMP whale or bone whale? Well, I just showed you here with getting whale here, buying it on wherever, sending it here, getting a liquid staking token, sending it back, or wait a second, something's in the way here. Like this. Yeah. Or you can just go here and buy the token. You can put in dollars, you can put in Luna, you can put in Atom, whatever coin you like, and just buy the token directly on Terra. And you could do the same on Chihuahua. You can just go to Chihuahua, select Hua Hua, select your AMP whale, boom, buy it here, go to the dashboard, bond them. You're done.
So you also have liquidity pool incentives?
Yep. But so you have to remember, and I don't want to go into DEX tokenomics because that's another can of worms. So I don't want to open here. But we are not a farming token. So you won't see every pool incentivized. You won't see crazy APRs. We're very, very selective because we're both a layer 1 and an app. So we need to be very, very careful with incentives. What we're doing is we're working on a lot of OTC deals. So community pool puts in liquidity, or we do OTC deals with the teams building with us, like with Raccoon. And we also work on sustainable liquidity models. So again, Backbone Labs, Eris, and Raccoon, my favorite 3 teams. Each and every one of them has or designed their system specifically, not only that it uses the white whale DEX for whatever it needs to create a better experience or app, it also has some piece in their system that creates sustainable liquidity. So liquidity that doesn't have to be incentivized in perpetual, like on Osmosis, it's just perma dumping, it's rented liquidity. And once the renting stops, the music stops, everybody leaves. And just what dead capital leaves or stays. And your token goes to shit. That's another thing. So we're working on sustainable liquidity models as we help them grow. For example, Raccoon, we struck a deal with them as they joined our program, the right program. You can read it up. They wrote a Medium article about it. They're using 4% of their, so not only do they route the traffic through our DEX, which in itself creates fees, also 4% of their revenue of their app goes directly back to those guys here. So on whatever chain, they send 4% of their revenue here, and it's used to buy back Whale. And they also send some of the revenue of the app back into the LP pool. So it creates a perpetual, sustainable, and very deep, eventually, once this thing, takes time and lifts off, deep liquidity that doesn't need a single dollar to be spent on liquidity. And that's where we're going. And Ares protocol has something similar, and Backbone Labs has something similar as well. So we're really trying to tackle this from a lot of different angles. And so far, I think we've been very successful.
So I guess the last thing that we need to cover is can users participate in the flash loans? I think that's a big core tenet of your protocol.
Yeah, we specifically build a interface. You can just paste in your message here and execute the flash loan, or you can upload a file. Now you have to remember flash loans, that's a product focused at developers.
So yeah, so this is a little bit more advanced, huh?
It is. So even though we did a front end here, that's just for easy prototyping and testing. You don't use this in production. You write bots, you write some systems, you integrate it into your DeFi protocol. This is just for the playground, basically, into our app for people to use. We have a lot of examples in our docs.whitewhale.money. There's a lot of examples how to do this. Call flash loans, execute them, do arbitrage between pools. But if you want to use them in something meaningful, best place is to join our Discord. We have our botsters, this whole community that formed around arbitrage, liquidations, and flash loans, and they are the guys that are actually using this every day.
Nice. Can you pull up the liquidity pools one more time?
By the way, 280% reviewed APR on Chihuahua right now.
Oh wow.
Because this market has been going for quite a while now, almost a year. So fees has been accumulating all the time. And now we just did, we started this last Thursday. So this was the first buyback and distribution. So naturally that's significantly more than it normally is. So that will probably come down to whatever 2, 3, 4, 5%. On Terra, we're at 14 right now. Assuming you have the multiplier, of course. Without the multiplier, this is less.
It looked like there was a good pool incentive with Whale and B Whale like right now.
Yeah, so we have 3 pools incentivized right now, which
Amp
is
Whale looks pretty good.
Yeah, but this might be. I think there's some data issues. Yeah, this is wrong. So screw this. Those are not incentivized. But those 2 are, so you can pull in your Luna. And again, you see, the right group, this joint venture, we're really tightly knit group. So we support each other and we bootstrap their pools because there are a lot of positive feedback loops. If they have deep liquidity here and a lot of usage for B Luna, their liquid staking protocol generates a lot of fees. And that means they create deeper liquidity here because they have sustainable liquidity model where part of the fees they generate goes back into the pool. But if they put up a lot of incentives into the pool, it attracts more liquidity. And liquidity means more buybacks, which is good for Whale. So there's lots of positive feedback loops. But anyways, this pool is incentivized here, Whale USDC, and those 2 Luna pools are incentivized as well.
Sweet. Well, thank you for doing the walkthrough with us and sharing all about the vision, the tokenomics, everything that you share with us today. I think this was a great interview. I think people are going to be really excited to dive in and do their own research. Remember, this is not financial advice. We're here to just share with you what's happening in the cosmos. So, any last words or
Then it's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving me your stage and talk to your community. I hope I didn't bore you with my ramblings about tokenomics and this and that. If I didn't, if you enjoyed this, I can only encourage you to follow Whitewell on Twitter. There's a link tree that gives you a good entry point into the whole ecosystem. So assuming you made it this far, I assume you're interested. So that link tree contains everything from Telegram, Discord, all the important links to the apps and ecosystem and blah, blah, blah. So that's your starting point. And then you should join the Discord. Fantastic people there, and some people from us, but really active community. And we host Twitter Spaces every Thursday. So Thursday is our favorite day in the week. So we host Twitter Spaces and usually do our announcements on Thursdays. So check it out. We usually have a lot of fun there. And once again, then, thank you very much.
Yeah, so I'll put all the links in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.